Rep the South Side whenever you pay with your White Sox debit card from Wintrust Community Banks and score perks like free ATMs, no monthly fees, and a $300 opening bonus. Pay with pride every time with Wintrust, Chicago's bank.
Hey everybody, it's Chuck Garfien. Welcome back to the White Sox podcast. It is brought to you as always by our great friends at Wintrust, Chicago's bank. Show your team pride with the White Sox debit card. You can get yours at wintrust.com/Sox. Member FDIC lender. Okay, on the previous White Sox podcast, I had a conversation with the White Sox new pitching coach, 𝗪𝗶𝘶. Today, to chat with the White Sox new hitting coach, Derek Shomon, who was the Twins assistant coach, hitting coach in 2023 and 2024. And last year he had the same job with the Miami Marlins. And now he's literally coming back home to the White Sox. He's from Glenview in the northern suburbs. And yeah, he did grow up a White Sox fan in enemy territory in the northern suburbs. So coming up, we're going to talk about him living out his dream of joining the White Sox and how he can help improve this White Sox offense. Also, what can be done to get 𝗻𝗎 Robert Jr. back to him being the all-star player he was in 2023? We'll get his thoughts on Colson Montgomery and the guy who led the White Sox last season in hits, home runs, and RBIs. Who was it? Do you know who this person was? It was Lenyn Sosa, by the way. We'll get into Lenyn Sosa. Derek is coming from the Marlins, who went 62-100 in 2024, and last season went 79-83. The kind of jump I'd like to see the White Sox make next season. So how did they make that jump? Does he believe the White Sox can? That and a whole lot more with Derek Shomon, new White Sox hitting coach. He's here on the podcast. This is a great conversation. Here we go. All right, joining me on the podcast, the new hitting coach for the Chicago White Sox, Derek Shomon. Derek, great to be with you. And as someone who grew up a White Sox fan, how does that sound? New hitting coach for the White Sox.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. As I mentioned the other day, had a moment of holy crap, this is happening. Tried not to dwell on it too long. You immediately kind of follow up that sentiment with all right, what needs to be done? What's the next step? And ready to get to work. But yeah, super exciting. Very grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah. Was this a dream job for you, considering your fandom for the White Sox and coming back home?
Yeah, I think anytime you're in baseball, the opportunity to be in a major league season at home is super attractive. I think it being the White Sox is a little bit more heightened or enhanced, right? That feeling. But yeah, it's definitely something not only myself, but I know many around the league think about, and obviously would love to have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I got a lot of things I want to ask you about hitting, about the White Sox, but I grew up in Chicago in the south suburbs, a White Sox fan. So I'm curious to know your fandom. What was it like? Who were your favorite players? What was it like growing up rooting for the Sox?
Yeah, I think it was just about going against the grain, right? I grew up in Glenview, so north suburbs of Chicago. Typically, you don't find a ton of White Sox fans up that way, but I just kind of kid I was. I saw everyone else going with the north side team. I figured I'd follow the south side team. Bring in the broom and the dustpan to school in 2005 for the World Series of sweeping the Astros. I appreciated the style of play. It just felt gritty. And then, obviously 𝗵𝗵 𝗪𝗏 was my go-to guy watching growing up, amongst others, but really just overall, the grittiness or the perceived grittiness of the South Side style of play is what was super attractive to me when I was younger.
Yeah. And, as someone who, watches the team and has covered the team for a long, long time, I've always felt not that the coaches who are here now don't understand what it's like to be, coaching the White Sox, being a part of this franchise, but I always wanted to have somebody on the inside who at least played for the White Sox, had coached the White Sox before, or knows what it means, right? You know what it means, right? What does White Sox fandom mean to, I mean, you kind of touched on it too, but you know, like when the White Sox play the Cubs, you're going to be like, okay, right, we got to win this series, right?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's again, like I alluded to it earlier, like it's a level of like grittiness, you know, back to the days of like just win at all costs, playing like a hard-nosed style of baseball, winning ugly, right? Was it winning ugly back in the day, years ago, right? Just like that style of play, which is multifaceted. It's all 9 innings. It's just hard-nosed, like from first pitch to last.
So you played independent ball and never made it to the major leagues, but you obviously pivoted to hitting and a hitting coach. Why did you decide, you know, a hitting coach is something that I wanted to do?
Yeah, playing wasn't in the cards, and just was always fascinated with hitting, and I think like how deep you can go. There's so much complexity in it, but like we're chasing simplicity through complexity, and just the different ways that guys can be successful has always been intriguing, and ultimately like the individuality of it, right? Like you're just trying to figure out like, how does this guy be the best version of himself? What does that look like? What does he feel for himself as his best identity? And then how do we help him get there? That part's super exciting, right? Like I talk oftentimes about having multiple clubs in your bag, having different solutions to beat pitchers on any given night. I think that part's fun, man. So I was fortunate enough to be around some teammates that I'm still very close with that also kind of shared the same passion for hitting. So we just started kind of like diving in and talking about people we like to follow online, different philosophies, methodologies, players we liked watching growing up. I think that's a lost art at times with some of the younger kids nowadays, is actually like watching the game. There's so much to learn, and how quickly like we can recall guys that we like to watch and how they hit and their style of play. But yeah, it was just attractive because it wasn't clear as to like one way. There's a job to get done, but there's multiple ways to do it.
So after the White Sox hired you, I reached out to someone who knows you. I can't say his name, but it's a source. And he goes about you. He says, he's an all-time dude. Loud, a character. The White Sox did good.
It's nice. I'm definitely loud. That's great. That's great. I'm glad somebody said something nice. Yeah, definitely loud. Try to bring the energy every day. It's a really long season, man. These guys they're grinding through it, right? Like big leaguers are not. It's 162 games, man. Like they're humans. They got stuff going on. And like we have to, as a staff, show up and bring the energy often, right? Like as best we can every single day for those guys. And we expect them to reciprocate too. But like, yeah, I want to be as high energy. I want to create as high energy environments as possible. I want guys to be excited about getting to the field, getting work in, being ready for first pitch, rolling with the punches that night and being ready to roll the next day. You know, I think like that's a controllable. That's something that I try to hold myself in check, or put people around me that'll hold me in check for that, but it's important.
So you're with the Twins. You were an assistant hitting coach with the Twins in 23 and 24. And I got to bring this up to you. So when you coached Byron Buxton, did you just say, hey, pretend like you're just facing the White Sox every day? Is that all you needed to say? And if he's a White Sox killer Hall of Famer, I mean, especially for you as a White Sox fan, I would have been like, you know, Byron Buxton, maybe not play this series. Take this series off. I don't want you to beat my team.
Yeah. Buck special.
What was he like to coach him?
Amazing. Like amazing. That is an A1 human being that was coachable, receptive. Like just, I cannot honestly say enough good things about Buck. I actually just talked to Buck recently a couple of days ago. He's fantastic, man. Like that guy he's quieter for sure. Right. Like, but man, he is a competitor. He is a good teammate. He is a good person. And I'm like very fortunate to have had the pleasure of being on a coaching staff for him for those 2 seasons in Minnesota.
Do you have a favorite breakthrough story working with a player who was struggling, or for whatever was going on with him, he was in a slump, and you worked with him and then boom, he took off.
Yeah, I think the one has to be Kyle Stowers this last year, man. Like, there's videos out there that Kyle, is being recorded talking about kind of the interactions early on in spring training. He was, I think, striking out at like a 50% clip during camp, and he was hitting on the backfields, but anytime he got into an actual spring training game, he felt like he couldn't move the ball forward, let alone with any authority. And you could just tell like there was definitely some panic there. He didn't want to describe it as such early on, but I pried a little bit, and eventually, he admitted that he was stressing out, and it was definitely impacting performance. And what was cool was him coming into the cage early one morning, one-on-one, and having a conversation with myself and Pedro, the hitting coach in Miami. And just like him being heard put him in a really good mindset to continue doing good work, knowing that we were on the right path and that there would be a breakthrough, while also acknowledging like, look, we'll pivot where we need to pivot, man. Like if we need to make changes, we need to make changes. And that's just not necessarily to the swing, but to the routine. Like we will absolutely course correct when we need to. And we're going to take your thoughts and opinions on this into consideration, of course. Right. So that was probably the biggest one, obviously the most recent one, but Stowie put in so much good work last year and really went on to be an unbelievable player. And I think the player that, Baltimore saw him potentially being, and obviously what Miami saw him being. So it's cool when guys start to kind of like that comes to fruition, right? It happens. But yeah, that would probably be the biggest one.
Yeah, we look at what happened with Colson Montgomery, who I guess would be a similar profile just because he's left-handed, hits for power, and he had, I think Stowers was a second-round pick. This is a first-round pick, talking about Colson Montgomery, but big spotlight, big talent, and he had to go to Arizona last year. Have you had a chance to speak with Colson and where he's at right now?
Not yet. I'm going to start talking to guys next week. Just been using this time since everything's been made official to kind of get in touch with the hitting group, start going over some of their thoughts and where guys left off going into the offseason. A lot of these guys had great second halves, Colson included. So just wanting to kind of like get those touch points in place, and then we'll start reaching out, also being respectful of their offseason. But absolutely, we'll be in touch with those guys next week with Joel and with Fuller as well. And yeah, Colson's story, I mean, that's amazing, right? I think that's a testament to like, it's not just the major league hitting staff, but there is this like collective that's working together to help guys improve and influence their ability to create major league value, right? So Fuller going down to Arizona with Colson and like them really finding something is amazing. That should be noted. Should be again, like you have this group of staff members that are working in the right direction. There's alignment there, and then kudos to Colson for like working through that. That's not easy. That's hard, right? Like scary as hell, I'm sure, but the kid did it and he's a stud for it. And he's like, his willingness to attack what needed to be attacked is so big and will sustain him through the duration of not only 162 games, but the course of his long major league career, right? I talked about that with Stowers a lot, and I say it often to players is, your ability to perform is really your ability to respond in a timely fashion. It's responding to what the game is currently asking of you. And then it's our job to help provide solutions to get you there.
So there's a lot of coaches, managers who played the game, and there are others who did not or didn't, get to the major leagues. Do you feel like, as someone who did not get to the major leagues, like, do players that you coach, do you ever come across guys who are like, well, I want to see your credentials. You didn't play the game. You don't know what it's like to step in between these lines. Or are today's players more receptive to the teachings of someone who, whether you play the game or not, you know what it takes to succeed at this level?
Yeah, I think it's like human behavior. Like, they're going to be skeptical, which is totally fine. And they're going to vet you out, which is also fine, right? I think ultimately, if they know that you're invested in them, you care about them, you love them, you're working your ass off for them to see that they are successful, I think those initial thoughts that may be there start to kind of subside. And I bring up a conversation with, Correa in 2023. Obviously, Correa's had an amazing major league career, and like Los looked at us as a staff, our first year guys in the big league staff, and we were having breakfast one morning, and he was like, look, if you got something, say it. Like, don't hold it back. He's like, you're here to coach. And it's like our job as players to be able to like sift through that stuff, right? And work through it with you, but don't hold it back. Now, I'm not saying that Los speaks for everybody, but I think in that moment, you understand, like, these guys do want to be coached, right? Everybody's different. Guys respond to different coaching styles, but they want to be coached. And we're here to, that's our job. We're here to help them, right? Like, we want them to be the absolute best versions they can possibly be to maximize their major league value, maximize their ability to continue playing at the major league level.
So Luis Robert Jr., he was good at times, he was bad at times, and there's only so much that a hitting coach can do. But here we are, and it's he's coming back. And you watched him. I mean, you were with the Twins for a couple of seasons. How can you help him? Because it really comes down to him. But how can you help get him back to the player he was when he made the All-Star team in 2023?
Yeah, again, I'll put it back to last year. Like, he had a really good second half. There's some performance stuff there in game, like swing decisions, that definitely can be improved to put him in a better spot. But I would likely tell him, man, when I was on the other side of the field wearing a Twins jersey for those 2 years and you came up, it's a real threat, dude. Like, you can change the entire state of the game with a single swing. Like, you can create multiple bases with a single swing, and that is a real tool. It is a superpower. I think your ability to scare pitchers out of the zone because you're hitting balls really hard on a line all over the place, to then scaring them back into the zone because you're taking balls, you're only putting yourself in this unbelievable position to continue doing what you do so exceptionally well, and that's hit balls really, really hard all over the place. So Joel and him did some great work in the second half. The numbers back it up. Like, we know the guy that he is, the guy that he can be. The ceiling is so high. So just continuing to reinforce the work that's there, maybe bring another voice into the mix, such as myself. But I'm super excited to see him, be able to see his work, and then see what he does between the lines.
Yeah, I feel like so many times when he is struggling, he's trying to do too much. A lot of it had to do with the fact, I think it was mental, in that, he didn't have a lot of support around him. And he probably was like thinking, I gotta do this here right now. And that's not the right attitude to probably have in most situations. But I think, this is my observation, once Colson showed up, right, and there was and Teal was there, like, he's like, oh, I don't have to do everything. And that's when he flourished last year. How much can that weigh into his decision-making and his hitting?
Yeah, it's real. I think you said it right. Like, you add pressure to the situation that's already like this high pressure, high stress environment or, situation. Like, no need to add anything else to your plate. Really, it's about taking things off of your plate so you have some clarity. But that's a real thing for sure. Guys do it all the time. I want him to know, like, I have players texting me around the league being like, this dude is a stud. Like, he is an absolute stud. And I'm sure he knows how good he is and how good he can continue to be. But yeah, like, again, our job is to create clarity. Our job is to take stuff off of your plate. So you're not trying to manage all of these things inside of a major league at bat.
That's interesting. So you took the job and you have players from other teams texting you this about Robert?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Hand to God. Promise.
All right. So here, what's that?
I said, hand to God, I promise. Yep.
Okay. So here's one for you. This is one of the most perplexing players I have covered in my 20 years of covering the White Sox. And it is a guy who led the White Sox in hits, home runs, and RBIs last season, and it was Lenyn Sosa, who, on top of having those great numbers, also had 18 walks and 127 strikeouts. And, I mean, you see the damage he can do, and you can see the damage he kind of, in a way, does to himself. What are your observations about Lenyn Sosa and how he can take what was a successful season for him and make it even better?
Yeah, this kid's got like two real superpowers. He can move the ball forward line to line or at the sky, and he can do it with some authority, right? Mm-hmm. Guys that make that much contact sometimes just take the bait because they know they can move it forward. You look at his numbers and you see like, yeah, there's chase there, but you really isolate it to more two-strike counts. You see that's where the bulk of it is. It's that he gets into two-strike counts. The threat of a strikeout likely comes into mind. And because he has such a superpower to move this thing forward, he can take the bait, right? And he's not the only one. There's plenty of guys like that. So it's like you actually could be more patient because when you do decide to swing, you ain't missing, homie. Like that thing's going forward and you have the ability to seriously drive it with some authority. So the fact that he's got two superpowers right there, I mean, that's huge, man. Like there's a reason that like the organization and a lot of people are excited about him.
Yeah, I checked his numbers today. He's playing in the Venezuelan Winter League, 6 games, 3 doubles, 2 home runs. So he's hitting down there right now.
3 doubles, 2 homers.
Here's something I want to ask you. And you're like the perfect person to talk to about this right now. Because last year the White Sox went 60-102. In 2024, the year before you got to the Marlins went 62-100, basically the same season as the White Sox did this past year. Your first year as hitting coach with the Marlins this past season, they went 79-83. So they made a jump from 62 wins to 79 wins that I would love to see the White Sox make as well. So it's a 2-part question. The first part I'll ask you right now is, how did you guys do it? What was the key?
Change the culture. There was so much turnover staff-wise in the organization that it was an opportunity to kind of like reframe what Marlins baseball is. And that really started with how we trained, from the major league level all the way down to the DR. The goal was to trim fat off of the training routines or training environments and just get more game-like as often as we could. And the players were super, super receptive to it. And I have to give them a ton of credit. And I did all last year because they're the ones doing it. But they really leveled up. Like they really upped the ante in the training environments and trusted that if I practice in these environments that are more game-like, the likelihood that this skill transfers into a game is way greater. That would be like the overarching theme. And honestly, like because of the amount of turnover, there's a massive credit due for like the stakeholders, the brass, the people in charge, getting everybody aligned. I mean, it took an army, right? Like it took an army, and the Marlins made some real significant jumps, not only at the major league level, but across the minor league system as well.
So do you see this is the second part of the question, do you see similarities with the White Sox? Could they make that kind of jump? And if so, why?
I see a ton of parallels. If you look at organizationally, again, going from the big leagues all the way down to the DR, the Chicago White Sox made really significant strides in how they impacted the baseball, their chase percentage, runs scored. Like Ryan Fuller and the group did an excellent job. And because of that, I see a lot of parallels. And then you look at the major league team and you see that their chase percentage last year, right, just making better swing decisions, I think was the best it's been in the last 3 to 4 seasons. Which is massive, right? Like we're taking balls and we're swinging at strikes. We know that that's the right thing to do, right? So on top of scoring more runs last year, and then just like the overall second half OPS, like they made huge strides. So I see a ton of parallels, and I think because of that, it's super exciting. And along with like the roster composition, just being a very young team, what's cool about that is you have these young guys that are going to get real opportunities to get 500 plus plate appearances in the major leagues. And that is an opportunity for you to learn how to problem solve Major League Baseball, Major League pitching, which is amazing. It's a great opportunity. Like you figure this out earlier than later, you're going to figure out how to play this game for a really, really long time.
So one statistic that really hurt the White Sox last year, and the Marlins are really good at, was batting average with runners in scoring position. The White Sox ranked 28th. The Marlins were 4th. You guys were 4th in runners in scoring position. Now, where do you stand on that statistic? There are some who feel like, well, it's not that big of a deal. I live by it. And if you believe in that stat being a big one, how do you, if not teach, how do you get your players to succeed in those situations more often than not?
Yeah, I think you can start with practicing those situations. So then the first time that you're in that situation is not in a game, right? Because that situation may call for something different than your normal approach. Call like your plan A and your plan B. Plan A may be trying to slug a double the left center gap as a right-handed hitter. Plan B may be backing it up, trying to pick it out of the catcher's mitt and shoot a ball through the 4-hole, right? So practicing it, number one. Number two, kind of along those lines, is just like helping guys explore different solutions, knowing that they're not a one-trick pony, right? I have different clubs in my bag, and that club may be more fit for that situation than the other one. So it's interesting that like that's what came out of the wash with us in Miami. I think like obviously we were a really high contact team, so that's going to help. We're just putting balls in play at a higher rate. You know, there were so many times during the long season that we were not doing well with runners in scoring position. So it's funny to hear that. But yeah, I think it's a byproduct of like, you know, you practice it, you understand you have multiple clubs in your bag. You still are making good swing decisions. You're not giving into the situation. You're not adding pressure, as you kind of talked about earlier, right? Like, what does good look like in this moment? And truly, good may not be just a double in the gap. It may be a jam shot dumped into right field, right? Like, celebrating those things, like practicing those situations and celebrating those things, practicing those different clubs.
Yeah. Do you preach runners in scoring position? Or are you preaching more the, you know, just the tool part of it? Like, because I can see it going both ways. Like, where it's because I literally hear managers all across baseball in their post game remarks will say, "Hey, we were 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position." But if I'm a player, am I thinking that when there's a guy on second, there's a guy on third, and if you're a hitting coach, are you telling him, "Hey, do this in this situation because we got a guy on second or third," or is this happening organically? Like, what's your headspace? What's your mindset with this? Because, I mean, if you're watching the game, man on second, man on third, you're thinking, okay, golden opportunity to score. And if you don't, I live on momentum. The momentum that what it does for you scoring versus the other team getting out of it is huge.
Yeah, I think, again, like it goes back to, am I swinging at strikes? Am I swinging at my strikes in that situation? That situation, and just about most of them are going to call for balls being hit hard on a line. Mm-hmm. Now, if I fall behind an account in that situation, that's where we talk about pulling out another club. That's where we talk about defending our ass off, right? And just like spoil. And if it results in a jam shot ground ball through the 4-hole, like we're celebrating that. We're moving guys over. We're scoring guys. That's the win. But prior to that, it still comes back to making good swing decisions and trying to hit balls hard on a line somewhere.
Why did you connect with Ryan Fuller? Did you know him before this?
Fuller and I had met in passing during spring training when he was in Baltimore, up in Sarasota. Hadn't talked a ton prior to this interaction, or I should say prior to kind of the start of the interview process and during the interview process. No.
Yeah. But so what is it about him, the White Sox, that made like this is a good fit for you?
Kind of just like the same stuff we were talking about with, I think why Miami as an organization was successful, why Chicago took a ton of positive strides this past year. Alignment there, right? Like making good swing decisions, hitting balls hard on a line, using objective feedback to make necessary or meaningful adjustments. I think like the desire to educate guys and teach them how to play the game, continually how to play the game at a major league level, kind of what we're talking about, right? Like, what does this situation dictate? Pulling out different clubs from your bag, like all of those things were in place. And he had coached, obviously, as a lead guy in Baltimore and has had good offenses. I think also like connects with people exceptionally well. So it just seemed like a natural fit kind of from the get.
Just a couple more questions. Is there a certain offensive identity that you would like to see the White Sox have next season?
Yeah, great question. Ask this often. I think the identity is very much relative to what your personnel is, what you have. Within that, though, I often think like what I want opposing pitchers, managers, and teams to say after they face the Chicago White Sox. And what I would like that to be, and what that hopefully is they were relentless. Those guys were nuisances in the box. They were a pain in the ass. It was like from first pitch to last pitch, it just felt like a fight. And I will tell you, that may still result in a decent line for the starting pitcher, but he felt like he had to work because they never gave up, right? There just like weren't pockets where it was just like, I can do whatever I want with the ball. It's like, no, I need to pay attention. I need to be a little bit cautious because these guys are going to make me work. That's the identity. Now, inside of that, is it more a contact driven offense that's going to go, pillow to pillow? Is it an offense that's going to go, slug heavy? Really, it's going to be dependent on the roster composition, right? But like within that, the identity is that constantly applying pressure, relentless, total nuisances in the box that feel like, for the pitchers at least, they have different solutions. these guys aren't just giving in. It's not a one-trick pony. Like they have different solves to get me if I don't pay close attention, if I'm not careful.
Brandon Montgomery, Sam Antonacci were in the Arizona Fall League. I'm not sure if you were like in Arizona at all during this. So did you have a chance to watch them play? Because they're part of the White Sox future.
Yeah. Watched a few innings that night. I will tell you that in the meetings prior to, a lot of positive things said, a lot of excitement around those two guys. Had somebody reach out to me about Antonacci. Actually, I believe he's a Heartland Community College guy down in Central Illinois. So yeah, I had his hitting coach from Heartland Community College reach out and send a lot of high praises about him. So ton of excitement in the room about those two.
All right. And, I read an article that was in The Athletic about you and your family and your son, Micah, if you don't mind me bringing it up.
Yep.
He's 2 years old right now?
2.5, yeah.
He's 2.5.
Yep.
And he's had special needs. And you've been, because this is a job that you kind of go where the job is, and your family is here in the Chicagoland area, and now you get to be closer to him. What does that mean as a father? And you've got a hat that says "Dad" on it. That's one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up, because it means so much to so many people to be, close to your kids if you can, and now you have that opportunity.
Yeah, I think it didn't hit me until recently, truly. You get caught up in the job, right? You get caught up in wanting to be a provider for your family at all costs, and right, wrong, or indifferent, but completely honest, like you miss on some stuff, and I feel like I've missed before, and it didn't hit me until I got home, and seeing him now after not seeing him for some time at the back end of the year, like they do grow up fast, man, and it happens really quick. And shout out to my wife, because she's a total savage for taking on everything she's taken on and getting Micah to multiple therapies throughout the week. I want to be here for those things, man. I want to be able to see him grow up and be able to just spend that time with him. So it didn't hit me until I got home, and I was like, this is quite an amazing opportunity to be able to share this with them, while also taking on the challenge of a new job.
And you'll be getting a lot of ticket requests, I think.
I'm sure. It's all right. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. What's it going to feel like to put that White Sox uniform on for the first time?
Like I said, I think I'll have a moment where I'm going to be, super excited and super grateful. But I mean it wholeheartedly. It's immediately followed up with, all right, what do we got to do next? We got time to get to work. Where are we going? What are we doing? Yeah, try not to dwell on it too much.
Yeah, you sound like a guy who is very selfless. You are not. You're here for yourself, for your job, but you're really here for the guys. This is not about you. This is about this team and trying to get these players to play at their maximum ability. You sound like a teacher. You feel like you have a teacher in you?
Yeah. I just there's just nothing cooler than when it clicks for a dude, right? It's just like, especially in the game that we love, the game that we grew up, enjoying and rolling with the punches ourselves and in our careers, and watching a guy have it click at the major league level and then have it click in a way where it sticks is dude, it's amazing. It's unbelievable. So, we're constantly chasing that as coaches, and just want the guys to know that we're there for them. I think too often they probably feel like they're on their own, and they shouldn't feel that way. They should feel like they have this massive support staff around them, support system, I should say, around them that is here to get as nitty and gritty as possible.
Well, judging by what you just said, I think you're going to have a lot of chances to do that. These guys are going to be coming up. Some of them are already here, but a lot more are coming, and you'll be able to, be there to help when the light turns on, right? When everything clicks, because it is. I just watching it is so fun and special, like what happened with Colson Montgomery, to be in the inner sanctum of that, like you as a coach. And we only know a small fraction of what goes on. That's got to just be the best. So I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It's quite amazing, to be honest. So looking forward to it. Super excited for this team. Excited to get in touch with the guys starting next week. very grateful for Fuller and Joel McKeithen and the work that they've done, and specifically Joel just continuing to work this offseason, really not even knowing if he was going to be back or not, but continue to do amazing work and stay in touch with the guys. So he's been a huge piece of this transition. Super helpful. Very grateful for him.
Okay. Well, Derek, this is great meeting you. Congratulations on the job. Looking forward to seeing you and seeing what happens with the White Sox in 2026. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Chuck. I appreciate you, man.
All right. Derek Shomon here on the White Sox podcast. By the way, we end every podcast by me tossing it to 𝗵 Harrelson on tape, and he gives a little shout out to the podcast. I'm assuming you've got some love for 𝗵 Harrelson.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He actually used to say that on the air.
Yep.
He would say, "Hell yes," after a home run. So
yes, that's right. That's right.
All right, 𝗵 Harrelson, take it away.
All right, Chuck, this edition of the White Sox podcast is over.